Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show where I talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Blind Spot. Another great episode. In particular, this episode revolves around a hacker named Pop-Up Kid, whose real name turns out to be Delilah. Basically, got close in the the NSA and ended up stealing this well powerful virus. I don't even remember the name of it. It was based on some wasn't it based on some Egyptian deity? I mean, not even Egyptian. It was some I think something's kind of close to a deity. I know I'm super messing up with the information here. I do apologize. But is it me, or is Delilah kind of the worst villain? Just the fact is when it's all said and done at the party and everything, and she's just kind of talking and stuff like that, and then she eats something. It just seems so weird that the bad guy is taken down by an allergic reaction. It doesn't seem like something that would happen. She's like, "You're nuts in this," and then she's needs her EpiPen, but it's just because she didn't seem like a villain, because even when she first showed up, she's kind of okay, I might be throwing up. She's a little nervous and everything. It's I thought you'd be a professional or something about this, especially the way you actually got everything done at the NSA. You even faked making yourself sick so you can get out. Oh, you're well organized, but it's no, you're kind of a novice at this. Which is, yeah, it'd be charming if you weren't a terroristic, criminal. So there's that. But I do love many different things kind of pop up about this episode. Obviously, I love Rich playing things up so much. Kept asking Ree, "Yo, can I go to this fancy a dark web party called literal dark party?" And Ree was like, "Nah," because it's last thing I want is you going back to that familiar world of yours, kind of getting tempted to kind of go back to your more criminal ways. So I was I don't quite trust you yet, Rich, because you do what you do. And then he's the one that set everything up so that him and Delilah have the meet up at the party, and it's kind of literally two birds with one stone. We handle this whole situation, and I get to go. And I love that whole situation of him kind of sniffing, going, and then Jane's like, "Oh, did you really?" And he's like, "What? No, I'm allergic to whatever's on this carpet or whatever." And then also later on, when the guy Akhtar shows up, and he's like, "Here, you want a bump?" And Rich is like, "Oh yeah, I'll take some." And then Kurt leans over and blows it away. "What the hell are you doing? Stop." And it's just no matter what the circumstances is, you can't help but I love Rich so much. That's why I'm so glad that he's a more recurring character this season. We're seeing him a lot more, because it's just because this prior to this season, he's popped up at least 5 or 6 times, something like that. He's popped up quite often. Popped up 2 or 3 times, maybe 2 times in season 1, maybe 2 or maybe 3 or 4 in season 2, but nevertheless. And I also appreciated they included that flashback to show you who show Akhtar was, because I was who is this guy? And it's oh right, this from the flashback, it looks like that was back in season 1 when they first met Rich, and I'm I remember the dude, because isn't that the dude Rich got the golden gun from, or was that golden gun Rich's? I don't remember. I'm pretty sure that was season 1, so I'm man, that just, I said, that's back when they first met Rich, I believe. So I was man, that feels ages ago, It's almost a different lifetime. With everything that this FBI team's been through, it kind of was a lifetime ago. So, luckily everything was kind of worked out. Yeah, show got away, but ultimately they got Delilah, and they got back to Device. Technically, they did. Excuse me. We did have Nas returning, which I was super excited about. Once again, it's that situation. I feel I don't know what it is. What is the way they cut the previews for these episodes? But the preview for this episode made me think she was a bad guy, and this is the second time that's happened. Whereas I thought the story's going to be one way because of the previews, which I also appreciate, because it makes you go, oh. I literally had expectations oh my god, when's she going to turn on? When's she going to turn? Oh, she didn't. To a certain extent, there's a whole aspect of oh, she took it, but that was more so as a bargaining chip so she can get her job back at the NSA. But nevertheless, I'm oh, because I think I referenced it earlier this season too, that there was another episode, because normally, I said, I try to avoid watching the previews, but some I couldn't help but catch, and I was oh, I thought something was going to be this way, and it turned out totally not to be the case. Same thing with this episode. I thought it was setting up to be oh, Nas is back, but she's actually got him. Oh, is she a good guy? Is she a bad guy? Is she on the team? And I was no, that element wasn't even played up at all in the episode, so I was okay, that's weird. Not unless I'm remembering that preview wrong. I don't know. Nevertheless. we did find out some interesting information is that she actually works at the CIA, and they're like, yo, Tasha, why didn't you tell us that she works at the CIA? And it's like, well, it's like, no, I'm kind of like their little kept secret. So, and then it turns out, oh, that's not the case. Tasha actually did know. And it's like, oh yeah, thanks for, the team would have asked too many questions. So thanks for covering. I'm like, oh, I was like, and this episode pushes it more and more about all the stuff that Tasha is obviously keeping from her. It's something that Keaton had brought up before too, about, like stuff that the FBI might find out about them. It seems like Nas ends up bringing it up something called Dragonfly, and basically saying that the moment the FBI, her friends, her team finds out, and they will find out at some point in time, because it's going to come out in the open. Because especially because, once again, we do know that some of Jane's tattoos are connected to him, because like that came up in like the first episode of the season, been like, okay, so do they know anything? It's like, no, but if they do, we'll kind of handle it. So, but you see it in Tasha, kind of the sad look, because it's like eventually it will come out, and it basically Nas was like, yeah, you're going to be super unpopular amongst everyone, but it's the sacrifices you make. So it's probably something where they did a lot of drastic stuff, like stuff that you will probably frown upon, that it's probably stuff that's not even on the moral, like not on the legally gray. It's probably pure like, no, this is super, super duper illegal. And I would assume just because is connected to the tattoos, and we know that Roman's whole situation with the tattoos for Jane is everything pointing towards Crawford. So that must mean that, whatever this dragonfly thing is, in some shape or form, it's connected to Crawford. It might be even a situation where to go after Crawford or to take down someone else, they might have ended up inadvertently or potentially put Crawford in the position he is to be the powerhouse that he is. No, because it seemed like he was already a big player, because it turns out, because Nas had pointed out that basically it seems like Crawford might be the one who funded the whole operation, which begs also the question, like, if that's the case, Sandstorm, I meant, which begs the question, does that mean he actually knew Jane? Does that mean like, well, no, that can't be the case, because he doesn't know who Roman is. So if he ever had any interactions, it was purely with Shepard then. Because I was about to say, it's like, yeah, Jane might have memories of it. It's like, no, Roman is there in front of him pretending to be Tom, and it's like he hasn't recognized him. So it's like, whatever the situation is that was with Sandstorm, either he handled it never face to face, all electronically, and the only people obviously he probably ever talked to was Shepard. So that's probably most likely. But that was just kind of an interesting development. But kind of really quickly getting back to Tasha, it's kind of interesting. It's something I don't really comment on a lot. It kind of sucks for her situation, and you can kind of see how calm, cool, and collected she is. Obviously, she kind of breaks her guard when it comes to certain situations, like the Reed and Megan situation. You can tell like she's hurting, because it's like, oh, there's love. Oh, using the word love, and you can tell it kind of breaks her heart a little bit, just because of how she feels about Reed, even though she hasn't really acted upon it, which she's even more super not going to, especially when she found out Reed was like, oh yeah, I'm going to propose to her. And it was like, oh yeah, definitely not, because I'm not going to try and because she cares about Reed, so she's not going to try and ruin his happiness and complicate things. Even if he might feel that same way on some level, she's not going to be willing to take that chance if it means destroying his relationship where things are good for him. Which obviously I'll get to the Meg situation soon enough. But the fact is, I was going to comment on the fact that she walks around so like she's smiling and joking with everyone, literally knowing in the back of her mind she's hiding stuff from them. And I guess that just shows you how good of an operative she is to be able to do that, kind of compartmentalize her brain like that. But like I said, it seems like she breaks a little bit more when it comes to the whole Reed situation, when it comes to matters of the heart, not as much with her coworkers / friends. I don't know. Like she has her moments, like I said, when she was having a conversation with Nas. So, because I'm very interested to find out what this whole dragonfly thing is. Like I said, just to the extent that it has something to do with the tattoos must mean it's connected to Crawford in some shape or form. In what regard, we'd have to wait and see. But it's like one of those things of like, you do what you have to. You might not get all the praise for it, but there are just some things that have to be done. It's like whatever that dragonfly thing is, it's kind of like, yeah, you kind of have to do the dirty work that is for the greater good type of thing. It's kind of what they're said and they kind of make it out to be. So also one of my favorite points in this episode, once again, going back to Rich, is him, for one, telling the others like, oh yeah, don't embarrass. So, you guys don't, cramp my style or anything like this. And Jane's like, wait, you're embarrassed of us? He's like, yeah, these are my people. Don't ruin this for me. And then also when he headbutted dude, he's like, oh God, I did that wrong. And like I said, I love Rich. I love him and Patterson together too. Like, it's like, yo, move. It's like, no, she's good, but she's not as good as you. And Patterson's like, yep, she's not as good as me. It's like, they gel together so well, especially considering they've always well, I mean, to be fair, most of her beef was with Boston, but, you know, obviously her and Rich have kind of not seen eye to eye, but then again, they work together, and then they, like, you know, currently where they are now too. So, I don't know, it's just kind of, it's a nice friendship that I really appreciate. Another element that popped up in the episode I thought was kind of interesting too was the fact is that Avery texted Kurt, and it's like, oh, why is she texting you and not me? Because, you know, Jane's in that situation, like, I don't know how to handle this whole situation. And so Kurt goes and it's like, yeah, she just wanted to apologize about working with Roman's like, well, why did she contact you? Why did she text you? Why didn't she just call? Why didn't she talk to me? It's like, and Kurt's like, I can only assume it's because she's just like you. You both just don't know how to reach out. You're kind of just scared to. This is like unknown territory for both of you. You've only just found out about you being a mom, and she only recently found out about who you are too. So it's kind of like you're both in that area where you're just both scared and just don't know what to do. Which is a reasonable response under your very extreme circumstance that no one else could ever relate to, you know? So, but I did appreciate at the end that her and Jane were like sitting down, kind of ordering coffee. So it is slowly getting there, because Nas did talk to Jane, because Jane was like, you know, could you ask Shepard why she did that? Like, took Avery from me? And like Nas is like, no, I'm not going to, because I don't need to. She's like, your mom was a psychopath, and basically she took Avery away from you because that would challenge your love for her, because she wanted you not to have anyone else in your life to love, so that the only person you'd ever love is her. I wonder how true that was, or was there more to it? Because what Nas ends up looking up and discovering later on is the fact is that Avery's dad actually has a connection to Crawford. So that begs the question, like, you don't think that's something like, it can't be. I mean, the only person not like immediate my brain was like, hey, you don't think it was Victor, huh? Because that'd be super messed up if it was Victor. But then again, it's like, is that why that was also a thing? Because like I said, we don't know too much about Shepard and Crawford's dealings, but maybe that's why she extra didn't want to like that to happen, because that baby was a byproduct of like crossing like streams. Maybe Crawford funded what they did, but you know, Shepard kind of had her own plans, and Crawford, maybe she kind of actually stole it from Crawford. Crawford's like, okay, use this money to do this, and Shepard was like, peace, and took it to kind of, you know, create Sandstorm. So maybe it's something she kind of did off on her own. Maybe it was playing into Crawford's hands. Maybe it's like what he wanted it. I don't know. He hasn't really brought up like how much that's affected him or not, like this whole Sandstorm situation, but we'll just have to wait and see. But getting back to it, it's like, I wonder, was it simply that, or did like Shepard also have other ulterior motives for keeping them separated? Like I said, like the whole like baby daddy situation, but we'll have to wait and see. Nas sent the information over to Kurt, so we'll probably find out more about that next episode. Like I said, I hope it's not Victor, because that just put things in a weird, awkward situation, because that would basically mean that Roman set up, no, because they would have met too then, if that was the circumstances too, kind of like the same Shepard situation. It's like they would have met back then too, wouldn't they have? Because they were high school sweethearts, weren't they? So, and I feel like Roman and Jane are inseparable. Remy and Roman were inseparable. I don't know. We would just have to wait and see. Was it high school sweethearts or just sweethearts when they were teenagers? I could have sworn the term was high school. So did she go to high school? Did she have a regular like upbringing to a certain extent, with the whole like, with the exception of the whole stripper thing? Maybe. I don't know. My brain's just going off in many different directions and that. So, but basically Niles was kind of like, we can't live in the past. All we can do is just kind of move forward. So hence what kind of, you know, pushed Jane to kind of make that choice. Even had Rich giving her advice and being like, you know, it's like, oh yeah, you're just mad because she texted Kurt, and she's like, wait, what? Where'd you hear that from? How do you know about that? Which begs the question, how did he know? I guess he was eavesdropping on your conversation. It's like, oh, this is juicy. And he's over there high, and he's giving her advice and everything. It's like, hey, she's a kid, she's a child, you're the adult, you know, you should make the move, you know? So kind of, it's just interesting. Weird circumstances, and the weirdest person you never thought you'd get parenting advice from. And even he's like, wow, I'd make a good dad, wouldn't I? It's like, I don't know that you would, Rich. Then there's also Roman side of things, where Blake is basically trying to help her dad. Obviously, like, his dealings went didn't go through because he thinks it's because of Victor. We also see Roman still dealing with the whole aspect of like, oh yeah, like he's saying he's got a headache, so he's got to go after the FBI team. But I think the thing is like he knows he has to be smart about it, because if he goes about them too quickly and aggressively, it means taking down potential allies he needs to take down Crawford. So I'm thinking he's probably trying to strategize. It's probably a hiccup in a plan, but probably be never thought. I don't know. Maybe he thought. I don't know, maybe trying to struggle with what he's going to do. Should he take out one or two here and there and kind of leave the rest of the team kind of like, okay, I needed to do this just to make sure I plan through, but you can be pissed at me, but hey, let's still work together to take Crawford. Even though we're separate, we're still technically working together. I don't know what Roman's going to do about that whole situation. But Blake ends up talking to this guy who's just nicknamed Junior. Isn't that the actor from, I forgot his character's name. He's from the show Rectify. It's like one of the things I know him from. He plays Daniel's like lawyer in Rectify. I think that's the same actor. Blake playing cards games, and you see her talking and kind of playing it up, and you see Roman kind of crack a smile, because I think Roman's actually impressed because he could tell she's kind of like playing everything up. It's like, oh, she's very good at the art of deception, which is kind of interesting, seeing him being all impressed while he's like impressed at her deception skills while he's sitting there, deceiving her and her dad. Even to the point she lost a card game on purpose just so like she could win more in the end. Basically kind of get him to drop his guard around her a little bit more. Like he's kind of caught on that high of winning, probably male ego kind of getting away. It's like, oh, you lost, but don't worry, maybe we can party up a little bit. Sadly, we see them getting kidnapped at the end of the episode, which part of me wonders, one or two possibilities with that. Either Junior's a part of that, like that whole thing was set up by him, either because it was some twisted party thing, like because they were going to a party. He's like, oh, you're going to like remember this, or you'll enjoy it, or you'll go nuts with it, something like that. I don't remember exact wording. So either this is some twisted way to get her to the party, or he's orchestrating this whole thing in some weird flirtatious means, or like some power play with her family or something like that. Especially considering, like Blake said it herself, that their families kind of butt heads. So this could be like that. It could be an angle to this as well. So we'll see what goes down. Sadly, going up against Roman, not really knowing 100% of what he's capable of. Junior did kind of point out some interesting things. It's like, oh yeah, like Blake has a boyfriend, huh? It's like, well, he's not here. And he's like, oh, you're so in love with her, huh? The fact of the matter is, the servant and the princess story never ends well. Sadly, don't know that is her boyfriend. You're talking on that trash too. But it also, I think, kind of put Roman in perspective of like, oh, this guy's pointing out that I love her. No, I'm just playing an act. It's like, no, you're actually falling for her. So that's the problem when you go deep cover. You have a tendency of just kind of getting swept up in it. It seems like that is Roman's case. So, and then another element that pops up in the episode is we find out more about Meg. We find out that Meg's an illegal immigrant, which like it's just a complicated situation. Her family had forged papers and stuff like that, and she's kind of been living on the radar. So, granted, the reason why she got with the assistant director of the FBI, Reed, was because at the time she didn't know, not something that really comes up on the first date. And now you have Tasha keeping that secret as well. But then we find out like, oh, the reason why he was all being secretive with Jonathan was the fact is because of, it's like, oh, trying to get him to do something about like, Meg's status, which is interesting, which begs the question, did Hearst know too? Because she knew about his meetings with Jonathan, which in a sense is kind of sad. It's not something Tasha brings up, but it's like, oh wow, it took Meg confiding that into Tasha. Not even Reed himself did. And that also means he confided that into Hearst and not Tasha, which is even more of a dagger in the side, essentially, or in the back, whichever way you want to think of it. So that's how, I'm surprised Tasha didn't point that out, but essentially it's like, yeah, like it took Meg telling you that and not him. So that was just, that's where my mind is on that. But Jonathan couldn't do it anymore because it's like it would threaten his job immediately. Because like Tasha was like, "Yeah, be careful what you're doing because this isn't just your life you're messing with; it's Meg's." Immediately made me think it was all going to blow up in his face. I was like, "Oh man, John's going to report you, and it's going to turn into a whole thing." Seems like that's not the case. To be fair, he's not going to help out Reed because it would jeopardize his job. He's under a lot more scrutiny. So Reed ends up telling Meg about it. Meg's like, don't do that. And he's like, well, your problems are my problem, and proposes to her. And it was like, yeah, this ain't going to fix that situation. Like, even if we get married, it's not going to like fix your immigration status. But the fact of the matter is, I don't care. We'll figure it out ourselves. But I'm doing this because I love you. And I'm like, oh, that's sweet. And but at the same time, it's like, oh, Patasha. It's that situation. It's like, once you get two people together, it's like, I don't want you with anyone else. It's like the whole Kurt and Jane thing. It's like, oh man, Kurt and Ollie, they're cool and everything. It's like, no. You and Jane. Oh, Jane and Oliver. Oh, that's fine. No. Jane and Kurt. You know, it's just like that. Like, I'm very stickler. Like, once I want a couple together, I want them together. It kind of plays into the whole aspect of relationships. Like, you never always get with a person that, might seem you're destined to be with type of thing. I know it's a very, like, fantasized notion of love I have. I know. It's at very least TV show wise, it's just one of those things where it's like, there's certain people you're like, man, I want you to click. You click so well in my head. It's like, I want you to be together. So my mind immediately takes that to two different places because there are very few people who know about this. That's going to come back to bite them in the ass in some shape or form. In Meg's case, like, I don't want to say Tasha would use that against them, but I feel like that information, like her knowing that, either it's going to be a situation of something happens to Meg and Tasha gets blamed for it because she's one of the few people that knows it, and it might be seen of like as a bit of a jealousy thing. The reason why, like you're trying to get Meg out of the picture or something like that. I don't know. I'm curious what they're doing setting up that storyline. I guess it's just kind of making things a little harder because now you're like, oh, like Reed and Meg's situation is getting deeper, and it's like, oh, there's just stuff between them and they love each other, and just like Tasha's kind of left out in a cold type of situation. There's also another part of me is like, maybe that Jonathan dude's gonna be the one to kind of rat them out. So I mean, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Because you're always waiting for the other shoe to drop in those particular situations. Just like the whole last season, you had the whole Reed and Freddie situation. So I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see where like all of this stuff takes us. But like I said, a great episode. Very interested to see what goes down in the next episode. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, love life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.